Hello, welcome to the FEMA Grants Management presentation. I'm Todd Schwartzrock with Technatomy, alongside Brian Stoltz, a senior engineer with Bizagi, Yassine Alawa of Bizagi as well, and Sumitro Majumdar, the technical solutions architect for Technatomy. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
I want to start this presentation by talking about the overall landscape of IT, but let's start with you, Yassine, and your observations in terms of what is going on, the importance of modernization in the federal government.
Sure, yeah. I mean, with the federal government, what we've noticed a lot of is there's a lot of legacy apps that are creating a burden, a strain on federal agencies, and what they need to do is really employ an agile methodology to modernize those applications, but at the same time make sure that you are doing it the right way and not failing at these types of projects. So being able to use a platform such as Bizagi's, you can wrap a layer around those legacy applications and really keep leveraging them and using them as you create a plan to deprovision them, and then once you successfully move through that plan, deprovision them as expected and keep on the road to modernizing those legacy apps.
And for your career, Brian, you've spent a lot of time with low-code, no-code platforms delivering solutions in the commercial space. What similarities exist in the federal space, and how do you see the use case of grants management, particularly at FEMA, and this opportunity fitting into what you see as a general trend towards accelerating solutions in the federal government?
Yeah, I would say mainly in the commercial world as well as in federal too, it's really coming down to the case management and being able to take advantage of, things like, for instance, platform. Bizagi is a platform. So as a result, we focus in on the finished product. What is the process that we're going to be following? How are we going to lay that out? And then from there, be able to put into play all the necessary aspects of that application. In the commercial world, that happens in a more loosely coupled type of approach. In the grants management world, that's going to be more tightly integrated with a lot more regulation around security and ensuring that the right people see the information at the right time, and as we say, across the right channel, whether it be mobile, desktop, or whatever the case may be. With Bizagi, we have an ability to create all of that with the business user in mind. So that business user has a little more freedom to be able to make changes to rules if necessary without having to bring IT into every single step. In the commercial world, that's a little more loosely coupled as well. In federal, though, that is going to require that we make sure that nothing can be done that's going to mess the mission up or discontinue that mission. So we work very hard to ensure that the security is in the right place at the right time.
An important concept, and also the agility of these kinds of solutions in the federal space is something that is important. I want to turn to you, Sumitro, because as you looked at an analysis of alternatives for this project, certainly an agile approach was a part of it, being a CMMI level 4 group at Technatomy. That was important to apply those standards, but walk us through the process of the analysis of the solution platform.
So when we looked at different alternatives, and we also looked at building the whole application from scratch, scrap the legacy application, build it from scratch. So when I looked at the Bizagi platform, what impressed me was the ease of use by the end user to create new workflows just by drag and drop methodology. I mean, you don't need to be a highly skilled programmer to
a business analyst, essentially.
Exactly. A business analyst or an end user can very easily create their own workflow in their own pattern. It's not about forms management only. You can apply that same methodology, same process in other parts of your business. So that is what really impressed me, and I'm really glad that we could team up, and I surely believe that we can do a really good job at the FEMA. And when we started building the prototype, what we did was we assembled a group of developers, and the prototype is not a full-fledged project, so we didn't go full-blown agile. However, we adhered to the basic tenets of agile methodology. We followed all the ceremonies. We had predefined Scrum team. We had a defined a sprint, and we had sprint demonstrations after every sprint, and all the ceremonies that is associated with Agile. So what we did was, it was not a full-blown like 6 months project. So what we did was, we had a, say, 2-day sprint, and we would do a sprint review and sprint planning every 2 days, and we would do daily stand-up. We squeezed it into daily 2 stand-ups. So that's how we fit all the Agile ceremonies and Agile processes into this prototype development.
Talk to me a little bit about how that process fits in the larger scheme of the focus and evolution of Agile, both at the customer side from the federal government, but also within Technatomy. What kinds of new level 4 capabilities exist at Technatomy, and how does that generally support the development of this platform?
Sure. I'll just give a brief introduction about how Agile came into being in the federal marketplace. I've been in this federal government business for almost 20 years now. Everything used to be waterfall based. Milestones, gate reviews, PDR, CDR, ORR, TRR, so many readiness reviews. And nothing gets done unless a gate is passed. So what used to happen was, after 6 months of development, everybody would come together for the finished product, and there would be a disconnect between the expectations of what the stakeholders want and what the developers developed. So Agile wants to bridge this gap, right? So it's a less documentation, almost real-time turnaround. The stakeholders can see exactly what they want, what the developers did in the last sprint. So around 2010, federal government started slowly moving towards Agile processes. Now, VA, Department of Veterans Affairs, has been at the forefront of this movement. And luckily, I have been involved with the VA since 2011, and I have seen the development that has been done in this regard. In VA, everything used to be PMAS-oriented, which is basically focused on the waterfall methodology. Now, they slowly moved to a process called VIP, Veteran Integrated Platform. So that is very much focused towards Agile. And with Technatomy's history and experience with the VA, we have kind of worked hand in hand with the VA in developing and shaping the Agile process in the federal marketplace. One thing I have to mention, that's the history part, right? But what did you do with Agile? Technatomy is a CMMI-4 level software development company. CMMI-4 requires that you are able to quantify statistically your processes and efficacy of your processes. So what we did was, we developed a tool called ADIT, Agile Development Estimation Tool. What it does is, it takes the historical data from all our projects, from all our Agile management tools like Jira or Rational. It feeds into our algorithm, and it creates models. So in any software development process, there are several variables, right? How good are your developers? How good are your requirements? How stable is the infrastructure you are building on? These are all variables, right? So what we can do is, using this tool, we can model each parameter and assign a statistical probability distribution to each parameter and tweak this. So if we say that, according to our experience, this customer is not very good at requirement analysis, so we can say that the percentage probability of requirements volatility is higher in this project.
And it gives us some certainty with respect to schedule and costs.
Exactly. So we can feed that data into our tool, and we can the project managers can actually tweak these values to find out, this is a what-if analysis, right? To find out what might get impacted in the long run. Yeah, what is the probability of this project getting finished in time, under budget? We actually have used this process with with great success.
And we're going to talk about a couple of those case examples.
Yes.
Talk to us about the criteria of the corporate experience that we're interested in on this particular opportunity.
So for this, I would like to cite two experiences. One is PRE, which is, both are from VA. PRE is a prescription reengineering project. This actually fits all the criteria mentioned in the RFP, which is $5 million and 20 people. PRE meets those criteria. What we did was, so the VA healthcare system runs on a software, MOMS-based software called Vista. So think about it in this way. You go to a doctor, you get a prescription, and you get your prescription filled at Walgreens or CVS. A veteran goes to a doctor outside the VA, and he gets prescribed a statin drug. He wants to get his prescription filled in VA. How does that happen? VA Vista doesn't interface directly with the external provider's EHR. So what we did was we built a middle exchange layer. What happens is when an external provider prescribes a medication for a veteran, it goes into the exchange. Our system processes that prescription and channels that message into Vista so that the prescription is ready for the veteran at the VA pharmacy. So this is something, I mean, it's really
complex. This workflow
very
involved.
Complex. It's a very complicated workflows involved. Many parties are involved: the pharmacist, the nurse, the
stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. There are many stakeholders involved, and most importantly, the veteran. Right, so it has to be very seamless.
Similar to what the grants management application will have to fulfill from the work that you have done, Yasim and Brian.
Absolutely. The next one I'd like to mention is bed management system. We're all familiar with the problems VA has had in the past to provide timely health care. So what bed management system does is when a veteran walks into the hospital and he needs to get treated inpatient. Our system, it interfaces with Vista at the regional level, at the VAMC level, and the national level. And it provides a seamless view of the availability of beds at all the levels. So the stakeholders high up at the VA headquarters, they can see what is the status of a certain hospital. Why are so many patients being referred from that hospital to a different hospital? Maybe we should change something. Maybe we should assign more resources into this hospital to increase more beds. And there are several facets. I will, for the sake of time.
There's complex logic involved.
Very complex logic involved.
And numerous users as well.
Numerous users at many levels, at the hospital levels, at the vision level, and the VA headquarters level. So these are again, I have to say that we apply the same agile technologies, agile methodologies and processes in both the cases, and we have been very successful. Both these projects within time, within budget.
So key concepts, they certainly support the acumen that CMMI Level 4 has provided to Technatomy, and the visibility and transparency that kind of tool, the ADEP tool, provides to all the stakeholders involved.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for joining us for this presentation. We certainly want to appreciate our partners, Bizagi, Brian, and Yasin, for joining us for this video. From all of us here associated with the Technatomy Bizagi effort, I'm Todd Schwartzrock. We thank you for joining us.